Hello and welcome. My name is Nathan Brownsword. I'm the Sales Director for Man Machine UK. Today I'm excited to bring you introduction or introducing Prodsmart. Now you're probably here because you want to even know more about Prodsmart. You probably have a few issues or may have a few issues in terms of your production floor, the shop floor, the workshop, or one of the team has actually pointed out in the direction of this video where you can take a look at a few of the features that Prodsmart has to offer and actually how that can help you. Now, before I hand over to Cameron, he'll be with you in a few minutes, I just wanted to explain to you in terms of probably some of the issues or problems that some of our customers are facing currently and how Prodsmart actually looks to help. So before I hand over to Cameron, I'll go through a few slides with you. So in terms of Autodesk and what they've done recently, I know it says 2023, we're 2024 now. They did a report late last year looking at the state of design and make. They talked to construction manufacturers and media entertainment alike and actually understood from the industry leaders within those organisations what were the challenges facing them. And as you can imagine, change, talent, sustainability were a few. But a big part within manufacturers was actually they're disjointed and using traditional methods in certain aspects of their workflow. Now, you have to ask yourself, why is this? We've done such a good job with design automation, configurators, data automation, machining, robotics. I mean, manufacturing really leads the way in terms of digital adoption. And there's probably a few more, the list does go on. So why is it that we still use paper-based workflows, Excel, or even messaging and texting on the shop floor to get information from one person at one part of the site to the other? There's huge risk and often mistakes happen. And I suppose I'm here today to talk to you and with Cameron as well, that there's a solution that's specifically aimed at small to medium-sized businesses and that can really drive some meaningful change. So before we show you anything, just think about your current workflow. What does it look like in each of these areas? What happens when raw materials are received? How are they tracked? Where do they go to? How do you get traceability of those from the office? When we then look at, say, let's take another area. So maintenance orders. Okay, when was the last time that machines were serviced or they're being ensured that they're as effective, as efficient as possible? Or even maybe with production tracking forms. Okay, so what do they look like within your organisation currently? How do they get around? And if we take, say, an example that's often used, and I'm sure there's people that's joining in the session that this resonates with, they're often using something that looks like this. Paper-based workflows. A sheet of paper that gets passed around the shop floor at different points, gets filled out, and often it opens up the opportunity for rework, for mistakes, for loss of time, and it becomes quite a challenge. So really, when we actually think about this production order, there's a lot more things that happen. So whether it's difficult to read or understand, the handwriting is quite good on this one, so we are fortunate. But it really creates a silo of information, and you don't really seize the bigger picture in terms of actually what's going on with that particular job. So again, let's think about your workflow. If we look at these 6 different points, how many of you have issues with missing deadlines? Now, we all do, okay? We all miss deadlines, but why are we missing them? Do you know why you're missing those deadlines? I know that there's probably a connection between a few other bits on this slide, but missing deadlines, understanding where that's happened, where the bottlenecks are, why has it happened, where is the issue in terms of all that time going, and being able to identify that. Do you actually know? Do you have an idea? Are you going off what someone says rather than looking at the data? High processing costs in terms of who's actually putting the information that's required into certain jobs to actually function and get other teams working. I mean, there's a few other bits there as well in terms of raw material sourcing, tracing issues is a huge one, and also the growing need to reduce your waste and scrap. So think about your organisation, think about these challenges, and where or how do you measure them currently? Can you actually measure them? And this is where Prodsmart comes in. So Prodsmart was designed to enable you to see information real time. And I'm not going to be able to give the insight anywhere near to what Cameron's about to. However, I can give you a few thoughts on why I suppose I'm excited about the product. First of all, it's a new product. It has been around for about a year, as I mentioned earlier, but we've seen a huge uptake on the product because of the ability to have it has around planning and scheduling and shop floor management. Being able to actually track what people are doing, being able to see where a job is, being able to actually communicate that with customers alike. There's a lot of benefits here. And then one thing that enables to do is, in terms of that's really exciting, is again resource planning. It's dramatically improved. So there's no more finger in the air, as I mentioned earlier. We can actually take on a job with confidence we're going to fulfill it, have a happy customer, and hopefully we can repeat that. Anyway, that's enough from me. I'm going to hand over to Cameron. I hope you enjoy the demonstration he's about to show you of the product. And make sure you get in touch if you have any questions. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you for the introduction, Nathan. So yeah, as Nathan confirmed, my name is Cameron McKenzie, and today I'm going to be taking us through a quick overview of the Prodsmart interface as a whole, and some of the capabilities that we have within the product itself. So I guess first of all, our main questions are, what is Prodsmart? So Prodsmart, as a quick overview, allows us to manage and schedule teams inside of a unified interface, where this would be able to manage the individual users, assign them particular roles, particular jobs to do within the workshop floor or the factory or inside of our company as a whole. It also allows us to then go and assign users and teams to machines, and the machines we could also then assign materials to, or vice versa. So really just taking huge control over the capabilities within our workflows and being able to get some analytics out of that, to be able to track that in a live product. So we've got live tracking of all of the processes that are currently happening, all of the orders potentially, any aspect of our workflow that we're wanting to be able to make more improvements on potentially, or just track that the things are happening in the order in which they're expected to, whereby we can take that data, that information, and start to understand where we might have some wastages, whether some processes are taking either a little bit longer than we're expecting them to, or some are a little bit quicker, and potentially we could use that time better elsewhere. This also allows us to then be able to schedule workers, ensuring that when we do get these orders in, we're making the best use of time. We're able to track and identify, again, shortcomings in current workflows, and be able to ensure that we can get the most out of every working day. Time is of the essence, as is the case in all industries, and so we want to be able to ascertain exactly where we can make these improvements. Another benefit to Prodsmart as a product is it is modular, so we've got the ability to take bits and pieces of the whole system and make use of wherever we see a greater need. Predominantly, our clients are implementing small portions of the product to begin with, and slowly introducing that into the company as a whole. We've got a lot of cases where potentially you don't want to apply the whole of Prodsmart into your entire workflow all at once, but want to slowly transfer and transition rather into a good workflow, and be able to grab as much data and start to get as much analytics out of your existing workflows that would be able to assign or help with that rather. So yes, it does show and allow us to reduce any waste and costs. It also allows us to then start to shorten down any lead times, and also begin to track inventory that might be inside of our warehouses or our store yards, or wherever we're keeping our raw material, or even produced components. So without any further ado, I'm going to go straight into the interface. When we sign into Prodsmart for the first time, if you are part of multiple companies, in this case we've got a few demos available to us, we would be met with the ability to visualize this, so we could technically or theoretically have multiple different divisions, and that we are able to manage from within here. So I'm just going to go straight into the Man Machine Limited over here, where I'm immediately met with a dashboard. So this dashboard is set. This is going to be showing us the productivity of today. We're also going to be able to see worker availability, any quality of inputs or work that has been done today, and then we get an overall calculation of the three factors together. Obviously, as a company, we want to make sure that our productivity is as close as possible to 100%, our availability is being used correctly, and our quality is as close to 100% as possible. So our OEE will then be able to reflect how close we are to that goalpost. So we've also got on here a feed of all of the jobs that have been processed recently. So we can see which machine has processed, how many objects, how many parts, how many components have been produced by the machine itself, which job it is in association to, and which order it's associated to as well. So we've got the ability to go in and track all of those. We've got the ability to see as well which production orders are currently in progress, and any updates that might have happened against any one of those operations as well. So I can see here I've got the laser cutting that's happened. We've had 5 come through that are okay, that are good to proceed to the next step, and we've got 2 that weren't okay. So we can begin to calculate some of the wastage from within the setup over here, and this essentially goes in and ties into the quality that we're looking at. We've also got the ability then to assign as many products as we want to. So whether we're talking about raw materials or products that we create in-house, or products that we purchase in to create our final finished component or finished product that gets shipped out. So we've got the ability to go into products and very easily go in and add all of these products that we begin to manufacture, or anything that we want to be able to track, we want to be able to see and visualize going through its workflow. Those products then will be able to be made inside of production orders, and production orders can be triggered based on the lack of stock potentially in-house, and that's all verified within inventory. So we can see in our inventory at the moment how much of the raw material we have in our aluminium sheets over here, and out of the components that we create, these simple brackets over here, how many we currently have in stock as well. We've then also got the ability, using the dashboards that we saw as the home page, we can then start to customize these dashboards as well. So this is the main dashboard that's available to us. We've also got the ability to edit the dashboard or create our own custom dashboards that might begin to show other relevant bits of information, whether we want to hone it down into an individual machine or a particular shop floor, depending on the size of your business. You might even want to break this down to an individual and be able to understand where and when and how well that person is able to get through the workload that has been assigned to them. When it comes to scheduling, we've also got the ability to establish what products are being required currently based on production orders, whether we've got enough material for that, what the workload is against all of the production orders that we've got available to us, and potentially when any shippings are coming in. So we've got a scheduling environment that's going to allow us to have a nice overview of everything that's coming in or out, and we can begin to look at these based on machines, products, production orders, and workers themselves as well. Then we've also got an analytics environment, which will then be able to give us statistics as to how our productivity is going, whether this be an overall view, whether we want to go and create a monthly view of particular elements of our production, and be able to identify and quickly show up some graphs in that, as well as the ability to create reports. So really, once we start to put all of this information into Prodsmart, we can get some really nice outputs from this, as well as being able to track this through its entirety. So what we would do with this one is essentially start it with a sales order from inside of Prodsmart. So we've got a sales order that has come in. This is essentially where we would then go in and begin to track this. Again, depending on where you would want this to start in your own system, can be completely customized. This is a modular interface, so we've got the ability to start all the way up at the top of the sales orders or all the way down and only tracking our production workflows. It just depends on where you're starting to see shortfalls or where you're wanting to track some of the workflows that you're encountering. So if we had to go in, create a sales order, and say that this one is going to be started or created today, you'll notice that we've got the ability to automatically create codes against these. So this is automatically going to be populating. We can have any prefix, suffix against these codes if we wanted to, and this is going to go up in an index. It's going to go up incrementally. We can also establish that this is coming from a particular client, so we can have a client list, which is going to give us a whole lot of information against those particular clients as well. So if I go here against customer 3, I could go and set up a billing address. Again, we've got the ability to put in a creation date from within here. When is the shipping due? So when do we want to ship this by? If I go in and say that this needs to be shipped by next Friday, the 26th, at 5:30. I'm sure my delivery team would love a shipping date like that. And then when we've requested this as well, so when is it due and when do we want it requested? So I'll put the request date as today. If we wanted to set separate delivery addresses, we can do against individual shippings. So we can go and set the address from inside here as well. Otherwise, we can come in and choose which products are essentially going to be required as part of this process. So if we say that we want to ship out this L bracket over here, and we want 10 of these to be shipped out. We could go in and add any other products as well if we ever wanted to, but you'll notice then at the bottom of the screen, as we start to add these products in, it starts to give us a estimated, or it gives us a quantity that's going to be required, what our costing is going to be, and then the unit price. So the quantity times the unit price gives us an overall price. And we can begin to create our sales orders this way around and begin to plug this into our system. We've also got the ability to create integration. So if you are using another system for your sales orders, most systems will be able to plug into that, plug into Prodsmart, and we'll be able to create that link and automatically generate these sales orders. As soon as I'm happy with that, I can go and either just save the sales order or create a production order at the same time. If I know that this is going to be requiring us to create material as well, or create stock. I'll just save the sales order for now. And you'll see that this now is created against our sales orders. And we've got the ability directly from inside here to then start to manage these. So from within our sales orders interface, we've got the ability to close these off. If we wanted to archive these at a certain point or make any production order adjustments, we've got the ability to do so, or naturally go and remove it from inside here. What this will do automatically for us though is you'll notice we've got an inventory option or panel rather field, and this is going to tell us that we've got enough stock of this in inventory. So if I wanted to, I could go straight into that sales order and begin to ship that as well. If I didn't have any in stock and wanted to then go and produce some of these as part of the process, I'd be able to go in and create a production order, which is then going to be able to replenish our stock. So if I go over to the production orders over here, you'll see that we do already have a production order ongoing. This is for a restock of our inventory. But again, at this point, I could go in and create a production order. And this is going to enforce that when we are attempting to restock our inventory, we've got the ability to then track this all the way through from the top down. So we do have this other production order in place, but I'm going to go in and add another one in here just to show the process of adding that in. And again, much the same as the sales order, we've got the ability to set a start date, and that start date I'm going to go again and set it as now. And the due date I'm going to say is due by next Friday. Let's go and say this is going to be due by 4 o'clock. We can put in a predicted duration. This is going to be able to help us in the scheduling, but I'll leave that as it is for now. And the product that we're wanting to create is going to be the L bracket. I'm going to go and grab the L bracket 50 by 50, and it's 1 mil thickness. We currently have 20 in stock, so this is going to let us know that we do have the 20 in stock, but the quantity that we're going to want to order in this run is going to be 5. We could go in and add any other products that exist inside of our product list, and we can go in and add as many other as we would want to in here. What we've got the ability to do as well a little further down is then begin to assign this work to our workers. So we've got a list of workers in the background that we can make use of and start to assign to these particular productions. So if I go into my worker groups over here, I can either go and assign this to our machinists or our packers, or I can go and assign this to everyone. In this case, I'm going to go and assign this and make it available to everyone, and this will be down to the line managers to decide who gets the individual tasks. We also want to ensure that this, as soon as I save this production order, it is activated. It is ongoing. So I will hit the activate option over here, and I believe that should be everything that we need on there. So I'll hit save production order, and this will now go in and tell us that this production order is going to be requiring half of our aluminium sheet, our raw material. We currently have 2.9 in there, so we've got just about enough stock. Well, we've got enough stock, but we're starting to run low. We might want to start to bring in a bit more inventory along the way. So we've got the ability to quickly ascertain at this particular point in time that we do in fact have enough inventory in here, and if not, we can then begin to ensure that by the time our production order needs to be out of the doors, we do have the stock in place and we've got the ability to produce this. Otherwise, we might need to push back on a few items. So I'll confirm that, and this should now allow us to then see that production order at the top level. So as I mentioned, we've got one production order currently in progress. I can see the progress or the production information against that. It's currently 66% of the way through, and 50% of the units have been completed. So we've got a quick visibility on how long this is taking and where it is at currently. Against these, we've got the ability to also go in and establish what materials are required against this. So rather than having to go all the way into the production order itself, I've got the ability to look at what materials are going to be required against this particular production order. And I can see that the planned consumption is going to be half a aluminium sheet for both the 3 mil aluminium and the 1 mil aluminium. So really intelligent when it comes to the consumption then of each of these products once we've set these up in the correct format. And then since we know that we're going to need to we are going to be requiring a bit more material over the next few days, there has already been a purchase order assigned to our inventory. So if I go into our purchase orders over here, I can see that currently we do have a purchase order in place from the metal shop where we get our material from, and that was created on Monday, and we're waiting for that shipment to come in. So we do have the ability to set that and allow that to come in as well. So we've got a few different ways where we can begin to manage when this does come in. Again, very modular in the way we implement this. Are we implementing this from a top-down approach whereby we've got somebody who in our department, in the department that manages the orders, or do we want to allow someone on the shop floor to be able to receive and log the order taken. It all just depends on the systems that you have in place, and we can use a combination of the two as well. So directly from inside of the purchase order itself, I can then go in and say, well, look, we've received this. If we're expecting different levels of material or different quantities of material rather, we can come in and establish how much of each we've received. So I can come in here and I can assign it a lot number at this particular process if I wanted to, or I can come in and say how much we've received of each. So it knows we're expecting 5 of each as part of this process. And then again, at this point in time, we can go in and specify a lot number. We can also specify exactly where this has been stored as it's coming into our workspace. So we can establish and configure warehouses rather, and assign within those warehouses which shelf or which section of the warehouse itself this particular product has been stored. So just as an overview very quickly, before I do receive that, we can see that in our inventory, we currently have 2.9 of the 1mm aluminium sheet and 3.1 of the 3mm. If I go back into our purchase orders and go and grab the receiving of this, we can say that we have received 5 of each as part of this process, and we can confirm this. Again, we could go in and add any other information in there. I might actually go in and say this is going to be stored, let me check which one this is. The 1mm is going to be stored on shelf 1, and the 2mm, the 3mm rather, is going to be stored on shelf 2. We can then go in and confirm this, and we can see that we've received 5 units, and therefore our inventory has increased. So we've now got ample raw material to be able to produce the components that we're expected to as part of the production orders. Now again, with the production orders, depending on who's doing it and where and how, we can go in and start to manage how much has been created throughout the process as we go through the product workspaces. But predominantly this type of information is going to be done on the shop floor itself. So Prodsmart does have a mobile application available to it, whereby we can log information from an app, whether it doesn't matter which device you're on. If you're on the Android ecosystem or the Apple ecosystem, there's an app that's available for both of those. Or if you're just on any other device, you can log in and begin to track that information. We've also got the ability to do that directly from inside of the Prodsmart interface itself by hitting the tablet main menu over here. And within this, it gives us a quick ability to see the time and date. We can also, if we want to start tracking our employees checking in and checking out and punching the clock, we've got the ability to do that directly from in-house, from inside of the app rather. And from here, you can see we've got the ability to do any material staging, the shipping. If we're beginning to ship these products out, we can do that directly from inside here. And there are a whole lot of other options that we can come in for any of the inventory movement that might be required from inside of our workspace. For the sake of this one, we'd go in and insert some production into this process. So we've got a production order that's come in, and we want to begin work on that. So this interface can also be customized to again, whatever you want to, completely modular once more. So we can have as many or as few buttons on this menu as possible. This one currently has pretty much all of them at the moment, but we've got the ability to set up different interfaces, and you can have different interfaces assigned to different logins or groups of logins as well. So you might have, this is completely scalable. So you might want to have 5 tablets or 5 machines that handle, that have a particular look, and 2 that have another one, and might have a one-off display as well. So again, completely customizable and modular as we go through. But if we wanted to go in, insert any production into this, I can go and insert here. And this is where it's going to ask us to start tracking who is doing the work on these, so we can get a worker ID assigned. If we wanted to scan this as well, so if we do have it on a mobile device, we've got the ability to sign in with a barcode or a RFID card, we've got quite a few different options available to us when it does come to the signing in method. In this case, we've just got simple IDs associated to each of our workers. So I've got worker 1 over here, who is my machinist, and he's going to begin the work on this particular production. So I'll sign in with worker number 1, hit OK, and you can see that my machine worker has been signed in. We can have this name be anything, so whether you want it a particular user, a particular group of users, we've got the ability again to set this all up. Predominantly, you want to be able to track on a user-by-user basis to ensure that we've got a good broad database to be able to get our analytics from. We'll see here that at the moment we have 2 productions in active at the moment. So we've got production order 5 and production order 6. The 6 is the one we've just created, and 5 is the one that was already there. Inside of production order 5, we had 10 items that we needed to create. We've got 5 to go. So I can go into this one, get this one off the ground first, go into production order 5, and you can see what's required left, the products that are required to complete. So inside of this, I can see the U channel bracket is required, and there's still 5 of these to go. So I can go into that and see what's required for that particular component. And I can see at this point that the next step in order to get this completed is the bending process. So I can, as user 1, go in and begin that process against this particular component. This production has now begun, so I can go off, produce the work that's required, and take however long I need to be able to get this. This is then going to be able to track, first of all, when I started the job, and second of all, how long it's taking me to do this job. If we have certain expectations as to how long this job should take, and it takes a little bit longer, we can then start to put in reasons why it's taking that long. There might be the machine has jammed, or there was downtime on the machine itself. We've got the ability to track that. We might also have some instances where collecting the material takes a little longer than expected. We can then start to track the reasons for our production taking a little longer, or potentially sometimes a little quicker than we expect him. And this is a great way of us then being able to track exactly how and why that is occurring. So I've gone off and done the bending against the component. I'm going to go and insert the production once more as myself, as machine worker. As soon as I log in here, Prodsmart is clever enough, is smart enough to know that I am busy working on that other component and I'm on that other operation over there. So as soon as I enter in here, it wants to know, well, you've started that operation, assuming we're going to finish that operation at this particular point in time. The expected quantity is 5, so it's already put that in. I could hit OK. If I've realized, hang on a minute, I've made a few less components than required, or I've made the number of components that I require, but 1 or 2 of them were broken in the process, I've got the ability to then quantify that. So if I've completed 5 components, I'll hit OK, confirm that over here, not including the components that have been wasted. And then if I do have any waste, I've got the ability to come in and add those in at this particular point. So if anything was potentially out of tolerance when we created this, or it was damaged during this process, I've got the ability to confirm that, and how many have been broken or how many are wasted as part of this process. In the background, we can establish some of those components that have been wasted, if they are recoverable or not. So we can begin to, again, track all of that information as we go through. Once I'm happy that I've confirmed all of the waste as part of this process, I can go and confirm that. It's going to give me a final rundown of what this is, what's taken place. So against production order 5, this U bracket inside of that, we have done the bending operation. We've completed 5 of them and 2 have been wasted. Once we're happy with that once more, we'll hit submit and OK that through. Now we can again customize that and ensure that there's a lot less clicking or a bit more clicking. We might want to confirm a bit more information as part of that process and start to tie that against every single operation that occurs during your workflow. But now that that's complete, you might have noticed that it came up with a 0.2% productivity. So it's tracking based on how long we expect that to take and how long it actually took me to complete that. If I now go back into my dashboard, my top level dashboard over here, we'll start to see the quality has reduced because I've now made 2 scraps as part of that process. We've then also got a productivity decline because I took a lot longer than I expected to complete that one. So this is a live dashboard. We've got the ability to quickly bring in all of that information and begin to track all of that information from here. So really, I don't have the most efficient workshop at the moment, but we can begin to bring in elements to speed up those processes as well. One of them might be, if we go in, we might have 2 people working on it, bringing up the overall productivity. So I can go and insert productivity and say that worker 1 is going to sign in once more. I'm going to continue on the bracket. This is the last step in the bracket, so actually that's the only thing that's required, and this one is going to go a little quicker than anticipated, so I'll go straight back in and finish that off. Again, we can adjust what gets input where, when, and how. So if you'd prefer your users to put in an exact amount of time that's been taken to go through those processes, we can do so as well, rather than the tracking between clicks. Whereas in this case, we've got a tracking between clicks, and it's gaining that information from when we started, when we finished, which we'd probably put in a little bit leeway in there as part of the product itself. But with that, we should now have a complete production order from inside of our production orders. And you can see that has been completed there. This is where we could then go and complete this as a top level. So again, we could either have this set to close automatically, or we can go and make sure that somebody's going in and verifying, perfect, the production order is 100% through and all units are finished. So this particular production order can be closed off then. If there was anything that you wanted to verify against those, we've got the ability to do so from inside of this. We've then got this other production order that's taking place in the background, and the workers can then begin to pick up the work that is associated to those as well. And then with those, we've got the ability to begin those shipping orders. So if we go the sales order and begin to ship the sales orders rather. So if I go back into my sales orders over here, again, I can see that directly from inside of the sales order itself, I do have enough stock to fulfill this. So we can either go directly into our sales order itself and begin the shipping of this, or we could again sign in to our web interface, our mobile interface, and perform a shipping. In this case, we've got somebody who is assigned to the shipping station, worker number 3. Worker number 2. And I can see that against the shipping order itself, we've got a few brackets that we want to be able to push off. So we've got 10 brackets that we need to send off. We can then say we've got a few of them available to us and how many we're wanting to be able to push out directly from inside here. Or again, this can be done directly from the top level, depending on who needs to be able to access it, where, when, and how. So if we go from shipping, sign in as user 2 or worker 2, we've got our shipping order. We want to go and grab 10 from there and add another. Cool, so that has then gone and completed that for us. If I go back into our sales orders over here, we should see that there are no more sales orders active because we've gone and completed that shipping. We can go over to our closed ones and we can see everything that has been completed for us. So we can see sales order 4 has been completed from within our setup. That has also then gone and completed for us. So as soon as it's closed, as soon as we've fulfilled the order, we've got the ability to then go and send that off as well. So in the background, we've had a lot of processes that have been working and ensuring that this has been as streamlined as possible. So for the most part, from the bottom up, as we've mentioned a few times, we do have our products available to us, and each of these products will have workflows associated to them. or operations rather associated to them. So we can go in and create multiple different products that are required. If I go into an individual product over here, I've got the ability to then specify the operations that need to take place in order to get that particular product out of the door. So in this case, we've got an in-house product that has been created for us. We can go and assign fields against this. We might want to have variables in the design itself, or in the product itself rather. We can choose which family this sits inside of, whether it's products that are made by us, whether this is raw material or whether this is a purchased component. We can begin to filter these out as well. If we do want to have certain, if this is a product that's going out, a final finished product, we might want to set how we ship this particular product. Is it just a single component on its own? Do we have multiple components inside of that? And when we ship them, what is the size definition? What box does it need to be in, and anything like that? We can also start to set a scrap allowance. So when it starts reaching a certain point, when do we need to start worrying that this is becoming a lot more scrap than is that we want to be able to allow as well. We can also associate colors against them when it comes to the reporting side of things, and when we are boxing them up, how many components will sit inside of a box. And then, as we saw a few minutes ago, we've got the ability to assign operations against this, or we've got the ability to, even within the operations, start to create process templates. So if we know that quite a few components follow a similar process, which we do have for all of these components over here, you'll see we've got the ability to create a template, and we know that the machining, we need to start off with a cutting phase, and this will be done with a laser cutter. That's going to take, in this case, 5 seconds, realistically a few minutes, sometimes maybe hours, and then it needs to go through a bending process, then it needs to go through a drilling process. So we've got the ability to go in and create those processes from inside here. So if I go into our process templates over here, I can see that this is a template that has been created for us, and we can then start to assign that against multiple products as a whole. Or if we know that one product requires a very particular workflow or particular set of operations, we can then begin to go and add those individual operations in against that particular product and start to assign exactly how much material each of those steps uses and how long each of those steps should need to take. And against any single one of these operations, if I go and select it over here, let me go and grab it here, there we go. Against that particular operation, which is the laser cutting operation, we can go in and assign timing against that. We can go and assign any notes or any files that need to be added against that. So when the operator begins to work on this particular operation, we can have certain notes and certain information pop up, whether it be a whole table that needs to be assigned to it, whether it be a bend notes, whether it be anything that's associated to this particular operation. We've got the ability to have that information assigned against that operation. If there's any units of measurement that are required as part of this, we've got the ability to set those in as well. So if we are needing to cut certain lengths, we can put those units of measurement in here. Again, we've got a maximum waste allowance. We've got an estimated lead time that we can come in and assign to this. So as soon as we start to look into the scheduling, we can then have a scheduled, we can have this scheduled in and starting to take that into consideration when we do start to get these orders in, if we want to establish how long, what our lead time is for the entirety of the project or the operation itself. So a lot of information we can put in here, and especially the ability we have to assign machines to this, so we can then start to track and see which machines are currently inactive and which machines are currently being used and who's using them, and we can begin to get a good workflow directly against these, as well as the wastage against each of these operations. We've got the ability to track. So you might have some operations that allow the ability to track tolerance wastages, and some that require the ability to track damage, and some that require both or none. So we can really get down into the elements of each of those operations. Mentioned machines, so we've got the ability to assign machines against operations. Those machines can be anything. They can just be a workstation. A machine is any location that an operation will take place at. So whether it just be a workbench or whether it be an actual physical machine, we've got the ability to have these in here and keep track of them. You can see in this case we've got a workbench and we've got a packing station. So any location that work takes place at, we can begin to track that, and a user or worker can be associated to a particular station at a time. So we've got the ability to be able to then make informed decisions based on the amount of use each of those particular ones has. So if I go into this one over here, I can begin to look at this machine. I can see which shift it's part of, so when it's available, when it's not available. I could add multiple shifts in there if I wanted to. And I can then begin to see the use of this throughout a particular period of time as well. And same is true against our workers. So if I go into our workers section over here, you'll see we've currently got 3 workers in here. We've got our jack of all trades, we've got our machine worker and our packing worker. If I go into any one of these workers, again, I've got the ability to set up shifts that they work to. Any skills that we might want to assign in here. We can ensure that certain workers are allowed to work on certain machines when others can't. So we can really get down to and fine tune as much of this detail, as much of this information that you are wanting to enforce and track as you can. They've also got the ability to be assigned as worker groups. So you can assign, again, as we saw right in the beginning, when we do create a production order, the ability to add workers or rather production orders to a group of users who can then distribute the jobs between themselves or be handed the job by a line supervisor or anybody that might be in charge of setting that up as well. We also mentioned the ability we have to start tracking our setups and products in that from inside of Prodsmart. So if there is ever the case whereby we have an issue with with one of our products, potentially material that came in that might have been a little bit underutilized, or rather even below quality, subpar in quality, and we wanted to make sure that we can contact anybody who was sold a product that was made from that material, or potentially anything that was done by a machine during a certain period of time where we know that there were certain defects in the productivity during that process. So using some of the traceability inside of Prodsmart, we've got the ability to then go right down to a granular level. Again, depending on the amount of information we're putting in and how much we're tracking, we can then begin to see, while looking at our reports, what has been used and where we've gone, which route our products have kind of gone through during the process. So we've got the ability to use lot traceability. So against any of the lots or batch orders, we can come in and establish exactly which person or which workers rather, which machines, which orders, which POs, which production orders, as well as which sales orders have been associated to each of those. So if I knew that there was an issue with this this lot over here, I could go and see which products have consumed that particular lot. If I go and generate a report over here, I can then go and see what items have consumed that. In this case, nothing currently. But I can also see where that was stored. Probably a bad example on this particular one, but I do have the ability to see which workers have engaged with this particular component or this particular batch of material. If I go and find a better example with my lot traceability and maybe find something a little older, say this one over here, I should be able to see again, which products this particular one has consumed, which, sorry, last one I haven't seen over here. But I can see against that lot which operations have been, which operations have taken place against it, which production order, there we go, was used against that particular one, who the workers were on that particular one, which machine was used. We've got the ability to then go and filter those all the way down through there, all the way down to which sales order was used to receive that particular material. So this is the material over here, and then this is one of the components that was then created from that bit of material. So real quick way of then being able to establish if we do have any issues with any of the raw material that's come in, or any particular product that has potentially come in from a particular shipment, we've got the ability then, using this entire group of, or this vast array of information that we're loading into Prodsmart, to then be able to track those and track down exactly how big potentially the fallout of that particular issue might be. And that's again down to either material or machine or any of these. We've got the ability to come in and generate reports on a lot of these, whether it be material requests by individual users, sales orders, purchase orders. We've also got the ability to insert checklists. So very really vast array of use cases that we can get out of this. And again, I will emphasize that this can be as modular as you want it to. You don't have to go for the whole setup all at once. We can go and establish a workflow that works for you and begins to look at the issues that you're encountering and how you want to be able to ascertain the best use case for Prodsmart, and also be able to get some quick wins and be able to track a bit better the information that or rather the workflows that you're currently using inside of your company. Cool. I hope that hasn't been too long and you guys are still with me over there. That's pretty much all we wanted to show though as part of this. But if you do have any further questions with regards to Prodsmart and how this fits into your company and where best we can begin to tailor these for you, please do get in contact with us. And yeah, other than that, I'll hand back to Nathan. Thank you very much for your time.
Brilliant, thank you, Cameron. As ever, always a really good demonstration and insight in terms of what Prodsmart can do. There's a couple of points you pointed out, which yeah, you make it very obvious and quite clear in terms of what capability the software has. So no, really good. So before we leave you, just a few thoughts in terms of actually, well, why Prodsmart? What have you seen so far? I think for me, Prodsmart is a tool which we're very excited about and we've been doing a lot of work with because it's easy to use. It's in the clouds. Again, obviously there's this move and transition and everything always seems to be in the cloud nowadays. I know that there's kind of like a preconceived idea in terms of security, but actually when you think about it, there's it's probably a lot of things are probably safer in the cloud, given especially the last few years in terms of that data breach and things that are associated. So for me, I feel that yeah, in terms of the actual tool, the ease of use, with a little bit of planning, you're able to get onto quite an easy and sophisticated bit of software that will make you time savings across quite a few different areas, like you saw from Cameron. I really like the flexibility as well in terms of actually being able to customize certain areas and actually start to make it very similar to certain processes or things that you've been seeing. So if I suppose just to think about, I suppose, where you are at the moment and how Prodsmart can help. So if we take a few different points, and I've put a few on screen for you so we can just talk these through. But think about your sales, purchasing, inventory management. So what is the process currently? What does that look like? How siloed are those different parts in terms of actually from a sales getting an order or doing some quoting to now actually putting it through to purchasing? For me, inventory is one of the biggest areas where we see customers really struggle with traceability. How many times have you worked on a job where you've used the materials for the wrong job and all of a sudden you have to make that phone call, or your salesperson has to make that phone call to the customer and say, look, unfortunately, we're going to be a bit delayed. it happens more than I suppose we're sometimes eager to or quite keen to admit to. That's a really big gain for me. Material requirements planning again. So if you think about what Cameron's been showing you, if you use a certain amount of stock, then does it then start to trigger a notification to then actually start to make an order, so you can start to get your more commonly used parts back into stock and be able to use it on jobs and projects? It's always sod's law. You use the last of a certain material, and then all of a sudden you get a few jobs through the door, and you're thinking, I wish we just placed that order. And then you have delays in terms of actually getting that out. You have the capacity, you have the team ready to go, but you don't have the stock to deliver and fulfill the job. Scheduling. Now, this is a huge one. So, in terms of scheduling at the moment, how many times do you have spreadsheets in one area for, say, a project manager or the production manager, production director? Someone else is, in terms of from a commercial point of view, or the sales director is then looking at how much they can facilitate or how much I suppose room they have in terms of to do those jobs. It's very hard to match up and to see easily in terms of different people within the business, see their calendars and actually see if you can take on a job. How many times have you turned around to a salesperson or someone in your business and gone, can we do that job? And you go, yeah, go on then. And it's like, there's a better way. There has to be a better way. And the scheduling application is available in Prodsmart. It certainly helps with that. We then look at a couple of other bits and pieces, or a couple of other areas, sorry. Production and job tracking. Again, Cameron's done a really good job in terms of showing you that, showing you the status of a job, seeing how the individual is, or where they are and what they've completed, and actually measuring the performance of those people or those teams. Quality and traceability, being able to actually take say images or pictures, whatever it may be, and being able to actually trace it from each different part of the production cycle, whether that's at the early part in terms of actually with the machining side, or whether that's more in terms of actually bringing it together and starting to put the product together. Wherever it may be, you can start to trace it from each different step. Finally, maintenance management. So again, in terms of like machines and making sure that your equipment is as effective as possible, you're able to measure and actually see how good your facility is performing. And a lot of these things at the moment, you don't have one central place to do that. Now, Prodsmart can do that. Appreciate that it does require a bit of planning in terms of what you want to do, but that's where we come in. And with Cameron, Robin, and the rest of his team, we have built out a really easy way to get Prodsmart into your organisation. Initially, from what you've seen, you probably feel that there's quite a lot to actually discuss internally to work out what you want to do. Well, why would you do that internally and not involve us? Because at the end of the day, we can tell you whether that's doable, that's feasible, you can achieve that. But you're probably going to have other areas and things that you want to consider. So if Prodsmart actually solves a lot of your issues or problems that you've got currently, great, let's get it on board and let's get some easy wins. But how do we then start to look at the medium to longer term ambitions in terms of your digital performance within the business? So getting us involved, we tend to run a workshop day, and it's, whilst you've seen Prodsmart in action, and Cameron's done a really good job in terms of showing you quite a lot of features within the application, we will start to then actually show you and demonstrate to you within that one day workshop more of the features in more detail, but more importantly, ask you and understand what you're currently doing. And we can start to understand the time saving, or how a certain process or how a form or how whatever it may be fits into a digitized way. Once we actually do that day, so a lot of demonstrations, conversations, start to map out the desired workflow, and we then deliver back a document. Okay, a couple of pages in terms of this is what we found, this is what we've shown you, this is what you want to do, this is maybe a brief description of what return on investment you're going to get, and it starts to help you not only create that business case, but also say to the team, this is why we're doing it. We're saving time, we're improving the quality, we're making sure that we're reducing the amount of risks in terms of defects or issues or problems, or more importantly, just actually staying on schedule. Once we've done that, then we start to get to work, okay? So we can either start to give you a bit of an intro in terms of using some sort of free trial to have a play around with it and set up a very simple and basic setup for you. But once we've done that, it's after a couple of weeks, let's come back in and let's start to train the team. Let's start to implement the second steps, third steps, fourth steps, the real detailed parts or really intricate parts of how it's going to help your workflow. And I think one thing that we're really keen to do is we appreciate that Prodsmart fills a void, in what's often a void in terms of your manufacturing process. We are able to actually start to look at integration to terms of your other products, whether that be your financial system, whether that's other different tools or technologies that are business critical. And if they have an open API, then we can look at that integration for you. We're very proud that we're actually one of the first organizations that Autodesk have in terms of their partner network that can do that. And we're starting to do that with a couple of customers across Europe. So really exciting things, but then that actually improves not only all the benefits that you've seen from Cameron, but then it starts to mean that there's no more silos in terms of information, and what one person does on the shop floor starts to then trigger something within the finance team, starts to then actually push information to the sales team, it starts to push it to the project managers, production manager, whatever it may be. You're starting to get real data, real time, and that can really affect it. So we have a tried and tested approach, as you can see on the screen behind me. So final thing from me, I hope you enjoyed the session today. What we will be doing is running a lot more our webinars and sessions and recordings to actually bring you the latest and greatest in terms of technology. But head over to our website, go onto our socials, keep an eye out for our events. We've got a lot more coming in person events over the course of this year. We've also got quite an exciting one scheduled in terms of Prodsmart Manufacturing Centre. So keep an eye out for our webinars and events, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Take care.